Hello, hello, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at the 2026 reading challenges that I have signed myself up for, as you could say. There are a lot of them, so I'm going to speed run through a lot of them. If I already have a video talking about my plan for that, I will link it in the description and likely mention it as I go through them. And then additionally, there are some that I may not have sort of spoken about yet, or that aren't necessarily going to be having regular updates, and I may ask what you guys would like for me, how you'd like for that to be presented when we get there. So let's jump right on over. So the first one is the 26 and 26. We've already looked at this one not too long ago, and these are just books that I really would like to get done in the year. My goal will be to put every single one of these books into at least one other challenge. That way they're kind of doing double duty, but ideally more than one challenge, because every book that I read is going to need to be pulling its weight almost. I mean, there will be sometimes, yes, I pick up just a book because it feels like I want to, and it doesn't fit anywhere, because this is me we're talking about, and that happens on the regular. But my goal with as many challenges as I have is going to be to try to utilize every book that I use at least in one challenge that I'm working on, preferably more than one. Next up is going to be the Women's Only Friday Night Book Club. I don't actually know what this one's going to look like yet. Last year it was a list of prompts, and you just, as you finished them, you checked it off and moved on. And this year we don't actually know what those are going to be, like what we're going to be doing. So on the 1st of January, they're supposed to be announcing the first 13 doors. What that means, I'm not sure, but based on the graphic, it looks like maybe 13 per quarter. I'm not sure. We will find out in January, but this is exciting. So long as it is something I'm still interested in, I do plan on doing it. Now, the change from last year to this year is that Women's Only Friday Night Book Club has a ton of extra things, and I love doing all of those things. There is a monthly book club, there's a Saturday book club instead of the Friday night, which is also monthly for the most part, but they didn't do a December one. And then there are genre ones for every month too. So you've got a thriller, a romance, a historical fiction. What else do they have? There's like 6 of them. There's a bunch of different clubs, and I joined them all, and I wanted to read all of the books for all of the things, because of course I do. And I just don't think that's going to be possible for 2026. Not because I don't want to, but because I just don't physically have the time to be able to do that. So how I'm treating all clubs, not just these clubs, for the most part, is that they are optional, and that if I see something that looks really interesting or that I can fit into a prompt, absolutely go that route and participate in the club. If it looks like I'm not going to be able to make that happen, or I just can't get the book in time, I'm not going to spread it. I'm just going to let it go. I'm not going to worry about it, because there's too much going on, and I have other things in my life other than just reading. I have singing, I have dance, I have my job. I have so many things that I just can't participate in all of the clubs. I had signed up for, I believe it was 10 clubs at the end of 2025, and that means there's 10 books every single month that are automatically on my TBR. So that wasn't really something that I could manage. And then of course I found more things to do and joined more Discords, and then there's more book clubs from there, so I'm up to 14 now. And so this was the sort of decision I came to. Hopefully that's fine. If I end up picking a book from a club, then I'll let you know. And I am putting the club still on my priority reads list. I'm just not going to hold myself to them. I've written optional at the beginning of every single one of those clubs. That way I know, calm, it's fine. I'll keep a list of all of them. If something really pops out that I want to read it and I don't have time that month, I'll circle back. No big. So next up is 52 Book Club. there are 2 slides for 52 Book Club. The first one is their standard reading challenge, which is 52 books. It's just a simple prompt. You find the book that will fit that prompt, pop it in. There's no timeline other than sometime in the next 52 weeks, in the next year, I need to find a book for all of these prompts. So it's pretty basic, other than the fact that it is 52 books, which is a hefty load, generally. So I will need to do this double. But for the read it, watch it, they've kind of adjusted. And so that's why I said these are kind of sort of together. So you will take a prompt from the reading challenge, from my understanding. If I am wrong, please let me know, but I think this is what was supposed to be done. Take a prompt here, you read it, and then you find a movie that, like, it has to be a book and a movie that matches. So of these 52 books, 12 of them would need to be have like a movie that it was based on, or a movie based on the book. If I did the 12, they do have a quarterly option instead of a monthly option. And to be completely honest, I rarely do these all like one per month. I just sort of say sometime during the year. Now, I am going to leave this, and I think that I can do the 12, and I will tell you why later, because I have another challenge that's going to fit really, really well with this Read It, Watch It. I don't know that I'll get all 12 just from that challenge. There'll be a few more that I need to grab, but excited. I was hoping that the other challenges prompts will fit in. I'll be able to find a way to fit those in. So we'll chat about that here in a minute. So the next is Popsugar. I have done nothing on the Popsugar one so far other than write down the list of prompts. I'm not going to touch this one for most likely the first 3 months of the year. I like this one because this is the one that pushes me to read the most outside of my normal reading habits than any of the other challenges I've done. I found some really interesting things, books over the last 2 years while participating in this that I would have never come across. A lot of things that are about historical groups, historical happenings, different cultural groups, etc. That the prompts are so specific that you actually have to spend time finding a book that fits that. And so I often will find a bunch of books while searching that I want to add to my TBR, generally that maybe don't fit perfectly or that I want to read in addition to, and it definitely expands my horizons generally. So I don't want to not touch this one, but I don't have the mental capacity for it in quarter 1 because of so many other things that are going on generally in my life and in my reading plan. So this will be circled back to. Then we get to all of the Escape with Dolly casts. And I believe I said Escape with Dolly in previous ones because I thought cast was like an additional like word, but no, it is Escape with Dolly cast. She has 3 challenges that I plan on participating in this year. I've talked about do I want to, do I not want to a couple of times. This first one, simple. Like, I'm already going to be doing an alphabet soup challenge anyway for Hercad 1.0. So the only additional thing that I would need to do here is the monthly minis, which I've enjoyed doing. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this one on my list. Now the author edition, I don't necessarily need to do the authors, but I find that it's not very difficult. I'm not going to spend a ton of time searching out books, probably until the last half of the year, last 4 months kind of time frame, if I start needing to fill a couple of prompts here and there. My thought with this one is just, as I finish a book, look at the author. Do I have any spaces to fill that in? I do. Fabulous. Pop it in. I followed a Storygraph one that will work great for this, which I won't really have to do a lot. I don't plan on updating on this one generally, or the last one, other than that'll be in Hercad, so you'll see it anyway. But I don't really plan on updating on this one unless you guys are interested. Maybe as I like finish a completion, I'll be like, post on Facebook or Instagram and be like 50% complete on my authors, here's where I am or something. But I don't know that that's something that would be super interesting on YouTube. If I'm wrong, please let me know, and I will do like maybe an other quarterly challenge update or something for the ones that aren't the big ones, which would include this one. Same thing for the literary escapes. So literary escapes includes 51, well, states and DC. And then last year there were additional, I think 6 or 8 countries, 6, 7, 8, something like that, countries added as well. And you just choose those countries. I'm not sure if this year's will be exactly the same because I'm not doing all of her challenges. I'm only doing 3 of, I think, 5 she has, because the other ones are just honestly too much for me to add on. There's a whole lot of additional work that I need to do for those. But if it is the same as last year, I do anticipate participating in it. Usually I get all but maybe like 12 or 13 just as I go through, because most of them are, states. So it's pretty easy. And then countries, I'm completing so many different things for HRCYED, or just because I'm reading for other challenges out there where I'm reading either translated books, which are happening in another country, or we are on a like traveling adventure, or it's happening like in the UK or Australia. So it doesn't usually end up being a problem other than maybe 12 or 13 books I'll need to search for. I think this year I really only had a problem with it because I restarted it in June so that it would coincide with HRCYED, and that was a bit of a issue. I did finish it, yay! But it was a barely like last week of the year. Let's knock that out because Delaware, the one I was hoping to get from Delaware, I just didn't get it in time, so I had to go searching, and I don't like to stress myself out that way. So last half of the year we'll probably check and see where we are and start fitting those in. Buzzword challenge. This one is a new one for me. I think this will be pretty easy, and I'm not going to do it where it's every single month I pick one. I'll just say that right out front. When I was listening to the announcement video for Buzzword, she mentioned that she's not particularly necessarily wanting us to keep everything exactly as it is. If you want to do all of them in 1 month, that's fine with her. If you want to do, in the quarters, if you want to do, however makes sense in your reading goals, in your reading journey. And I was like, cool. I don't think this will be a problem. It'll actually be probably kind of fun to be like, okay, how can I make something that's in one of these 2 challenges fit in with something else that I'm working on in the other? I think it'll be fun to try to like make a book work double duty or even triple duty between them, including these ones. Some of them I think are going to work really, really well, like damage, fire and smoke, music, groups and clubs, occupations, one-word title. I think those ones are going to be pretty easy to sync up specifically with Romanceopoly and a couple HRCYED prompts, but we will see. Okay, next up. Once Upon a Year. This one is new to me as well. I already have a video on it, so I will link that below. I only have the first chapter, which is the first quarter of the year, presented, like available for us to do. So I only really went through the journal up through the end of that quarter. But yeah, I'm going to give this one a go, see how I like it. This is the beginning of a multiple year challenge. So the first book is 4 chapters long each quarter, and then there's going to eventually be multiple books throughout this story, which is kind of fun. I think that is an interesting way to do a challenge because people are reading and you're creating a series or a book in a series, and then eventually becomes a series as you're reading a bunch of different series and books, and I think it's cute. So we're going to give this one a go. And yeah, I'll leave that one alone because we've already got a whole one about it. HRCYED 1.0. I also have already done a whole video on this one. Some of these are going to be more difficult for me than others. Some of them I'm not even going to plan for at all, like genre and rainbow. I didn't touch rainbow at all. And genre, I do technically have one for each, but I anticipate switching those out most likely because it'll be just whatever fits, and I read pretty broadly when it comes to genres. A to Z challenge, I already said that was going to link up with Escape with Dolly Cass, and then the new releases. This one is one that I'm doing a little bit different because I'm doing Hercad 1.0 a year and a half late, and that I'm going to go ahead and grab ones for the month that when it was released. So it'll be June of 2024, July 2024, all the way to May of 2025. And I've already picked those out, but they could be adjusted depending on what I'm reading. Nothing in here is firm. They've all just been, hey, I've done my due diligence. As I go through them, I might find something to switch it out, because that's part of the fun for me is doing the planning and looking and making my TBRs for like the long haul. But in every month, I'm going to kind of need to move things around and see what makes sense. Hercad 2.0, I am basically done with, other than new releases, but it is technically still on until June, and I do have 7 more books to read. Well, 9 more books to read if I include the 2026 for the last 6 years, and I read 1 more book for all the adaptations, because I had originally planned to read all of the originals and adaptations if I could. But for one of the prompts, I ended up reading the adaptation because I couldn't get the original, and I had already read the original. And you're not technically supposed to count anything you've read in the past anyway. So if I decide to reread that book, it'll be a 9th book, and I would like to. It's The Handmaid's Tale, so I would like to read it again. So it is on my library holds, and when I get it anytime soon, then I'll likely go ahead and read it and check that one off. But I only have 7 that I need to read. Yeah, 7 that I need to read, and they're all new releases. So maybe I'll get some arcs and get it done faster, but I am looking forward to most of the books that are on my remaining 7, so probably not. All right, Romanceopoly, another one that's new to me, and another one that I've already done a whole video on. For this one, I have kind of thought through it, and I'm going to plan my quarterly event with, we'll talk about it, and then we will pick a club for every quarter. And then I'm going to probably just sort of let the other ones go where they will, and we will see. I would love to finish as much as possible, but I need to finish at least 2 of the departments, which are the ones that are around the 5, and all of the ones that are in the center here. So the core curriculum. So at some point, if I haven't finished all the core curriculum just in the way that I normally read, then we will likely go ahead and knock those out. But I don't anticipate this one being a big problem because I read a lot of romance books from a lot of places. I think the one that's going to be the hardest to fit things in regularly is going to be historical studies, just because I don't read a lot of historical fiction, historical romance, etc. And then there are a couple prompts on dark psychology that I'm like, I don't read a ton in that realm. Not that I'm opposed to it or that I haven't. I just don't read a ton generally. So I will be expanding my brain a little bit when it comes to what I read in the romance department. And this one seemed fun because of that fact. This one I literally just added today, like 2 hours ago. I was watching someone else's video, and it was their January TBR creation, and I was like, excuse me? What is this fantabulous new thing that I haven't seen before? Because they were very excited about it. And yeah, so I went looking, and I went down a rabbit hole, and then I created a journal. And yeah, we're going to try this. Now, it is a 3-month challenge, because after the 3 months, then they start their next challenge for the rest of the year, which is for Bridge 4 books. It's on Discord. You can totally jump over there and look at it. And there's a lot of really cool graphics and things for it. So definitely do check that out. And I haven't figured out how I'm going to fit this one into my schedule for updating it. And I haven't even shown you all the journal, and I don't know that I will until we finish. And that maybe we do. At the end of the quarter, we'll go through the journal together. And then I'll just sort of, at the end of every month when we do our review, say, hey, we did training, we did Vulcanus, we did Sinus, etc. And these are the books and reviews. And that may be the way that makes the most sense, because I want to do this one, but I only have so much time to film. And that's the other thing as well. I think two videos a week is probably about as long as I have, especially since I'm trying to also do some shorts and Instagram and Facebook and things like that. And a lot of that can be cross-posted on those ones, yes, but they still take time to edit them and change the everything, and I have to learn how to edit better. So yeah, there's a lot going on, and I'm interested in this one. I also think it's interesting that they made each of the little frames look like a book. You can see the spine, and I'm like, I know this is definitely on Canva, or at least it probably is on Canva, like when they made it, but I haven't seen this one, so I'm gonna have to go find it because I like this one, and I may decide to go that route rather than just making all of my boxes a solid color so that they blend into the background, which is what I've been doing. So it's easy to click on and replace whenever I'm going through from my phone. Interesting thoughts, but not related to what we're doing at the moment. So moving on. Let me know if you want a video on this one, but as a short sort of summary, you are being sent out on a ship to go to a bunch of different planets and take samples. You're doing a survey essentially, and then you are coming home. So you have to do the training in order, start mission briefing down to blast off, and then when you get to each planet, you have to finish them, but they don't have to be in order. But you can't move on to the next planet or the next area until you have completed that section. So once I've done my training and I blast off and head over to planet Vulcanus, I have to do those 3 prompts, but they don't have to be in that particular order, before I move to planet Sinus. And then there's 2, and I can do those in any order. Then planet Silvarium. And then I believe after Silvarium is Aqua and Lumen, and then I ended up choosing to go the red path instead of the blue path, so mine ended up looking a little bit different. I was back and forth between which one I wanted to do. This one is a little bit shorter, so the rift on this one is only 2 prompts, but the rift on the red one is 4. So it does have a little bit of change there. And then you go to Andromeda and planet Annulus twice, and then return home. So you have the option to add 2 more to your TBR, to your journey, if you would like, by choosing the red one, which has you go through the rift, rather than this one, which is the long haul, which adds 7 months. I don't know that that matters, but when you're reading through the entire journal, because they give you a whole thing, 2 journals actually. One of them is for you to put all your data in, and one of them is just like the story. But yeah, there's a spot for you to either go around or for you to go straight through the rift, and you get to choose. So that was fun. Next up, oh, this picture did not come out as well when I'm presenting. I apologize. So this one is Studio Ghibli, and it is not an official challenge out there that I can see, but I had never read or watched any Studio Ghibli books or read any of the books that the Studio Ghibli movies are based on. And we went to Japan this year, and I knew Kiki's Delivery Service because I had seen like pictures and things over the years, and I had heard of The Borrowers, which is A Secret World of Arrietty. I didn't realize that those 2 things were linked, but I'd heard of them. And then I'd heard of Howl's Moving Castle, but none of the other ones I'd ever done. So me and my husband have started watching them all because I would like to. I think they're fun, and yeah, so I've decided that I need to read the books that go with the movies. I don't have to read them the same month necessarily, but I would like to read and watch all of the Studio Ghibli books, movies, because I think that's fun. And I am done with Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle, Kiki's Delivery Service, Castle in the Sky, and Secret World of Arrietty when it comes to watching them. Oh, and there's a couple on here that wasn't. The Cat Returns, we watched that one this last week, and that one's not on here, but I have only read Kiki's Delivery Service and Howl's Moving Castle so far. So I've still got a long way to go. But yeah, plan on doing this in the next year. Then we get the Barnes & Noble Classics. This one is also one that is just kind of chill. I'm not really working on anything particular. There is a list and there's a story graph out there for this challenge. It's a holdover from last year. I didn't finish it, and if they publish a 2026 list, then I will likely see what I haven't read from that list and add them onto that list, but I haven't seen the 2026 list yet, so I'm still finishing the holdovers from 2025. I do anticipate them having a list just because that makes sense from a marketing standpoint, and I found that I did not read nearly as many classics as I probably should have when I was younger. So this is an opportunity for me to add classics into my reading repertoire. Pen America, that's the Banned Books Challenge. I believe they will likely put out another one sometime in the next likely few months, but so far I still have a few that are left over from 2025 that I have not finished because I hadn't got them in from the library yet, which I guess is a good thing because a lot of people are trying to read them. But there are a few that I still need to read from last year, and then when they put the new ones out, just like for Barnes & Noble Classics, I will add them to the list if I have not yet read them. Then we get to Aurelium, which is a whole bunch of different things. Magical Readathon. There is the Spring Reading Challenge, which happens in April. The Autumn one, which is in October. The Lightfall, which is just a week-long one that happens in December. And then there are a bunch of other supplemental and things along those lines that I personally am trying to work on because I want to catch up. Yeah, so if I have time, which is unlikely, then I may do some 2024 stuff. I don't think that's going to happen, but I do plan on doing all the ones I already mentioned, plus all of the supplemental certifications. So like the Impling Sitter and the Train Conductor and Leyline Train Conductor and all of those ones. I do want to finish those ones. And I would like to finish the side quests at some point, but I'm not going to push myself to get those done because technically I believe they're from 2022 and they're not even really utilized anymore. Their documentation things are out there still, so I can still go back and do them. And they are ones that I would like to do at some point. But other than the three main ones that I mentioned and the supplementary ones, those are the ones that I plan on doing this year. Now, I have 2 characters for each of those. So there are 3 plus the supplementals, but those are all like, I think total like less than 10 books that I need to finish for the supplementals for all of them. And they're not on a specific timeline. But all of those 3, I have double the amount of books to read because, or ish double, because I have 2 characters. At some point, if it's going to be overwhelming, I may decide to only do one of my characters and like switch out every year, or what would likely happen is I do one of my characters during April and October, and then the next month I do the other character. So I've done them all, and I just have to spend 5 GP in order to do that for a scroll. But we'll see how it goes, depending on what all's going on in reading world and in my life. That is an option. That is something I've thought about, so I can still have both my characters, and I can still have fun with both of them, but the issue I'll have with that is it'll always have to be Elenis that is happening during the actual month, because she is the one that I'm in the Discord for. She can only be in the Discord for sort of one house. I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head, but I am in hers, and so therefore if I want to do the book club, I have to do it during the month, because as part of it is you have to like communicate and discuss and everything. And then I would have to do Kira in the following month. But I don't know. We will see when we get there. Adventures in Aeldia. Kira is all of the teal, and all of the kind of like reddish pink is Elenis. I am doing 1, and these are each 1 a month, so in reality that is 2 per month that I am reading for Adventures in Aeldia. So here's the summary. There are 24, plus Eventually, Hercad 3.0 will get added in. By the time that gets added in, Hercad 2.0 will be ended, but it will be a new set of prompts versus Hercad 2.0 is only a few prompts. So that will be a huge chunk of prompts will be added in at that point. And I don't know how many prompts are going to be because every year it gets more difficult, supposedly, right? And then the 52 books challenge mini prompts happen, I'm not sure how often, but they're just sort of scattered throughout the year. And as those happen, they will be added. But since I'm not sure how many they're going to be, I left that one as a, we'll talk about those at a later point. 14 book clubs. Like I said, those are all going to be optional, and I'm trying to treat them more as a, hey, look, these are some cool suggestions. Pick and choose as you will what fits into your prompts, etc., and ideas. Specifically for Romanceopoly, I joined, I think, 3 romance clubs before, because I was already in 2, and then I think I added myself into 2 more that are only romance, and 1 more that does a lot of romance, but not all romances. Specifically for ideas. One of them is a dark romance book club, and the other one, I think it's just a standard romance book club. But I figure having a bunch of titles come at me every month of, hey, these are all, somebody has said they're really good, and people are talking about them, and I'd have the opportunity to jump in and chat with people about them as I'm reading them, which is a lot of fun. Would hopefully be sort of a fun way to add to those challenges. And then I want to do some what we're going to call husband choice books. I haven't talked about this one with him yet, about how this is going to work, whether it's going to be like on a quarterly or on a monthly. I don't want to try to push him to say he has to read a certain amount of books per year or anything like that so that he can suggest for me. But I am keeping a list of books that he has read. Right now it's on my priorities reads, and sometime in the next month or so, we'll sit down and say, okay, well, which one of these do you suggest? Which ones should I take off the list altogether? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then, as more come up, let me know. I'll put it on there. And also, do you want me to just pick one randomly? Do you want to pick the one that I'm reading? Do you want to come on to the channel and say hey and tell everyone what you're picking and why? Like, what are your thoughts? And I know he's not necessarily opposed to coming on and saying hi and doing things, but he's got a different work schedule, so it could be a little more difficult to make that work. So we'll chat about that, he and I, and come back on this. But I do want to do like a husband's choice and at least a quarterly basis. I'm just not sure what that's going to look like yet because I haven't had time, honestly, to sit down and chat with all of the stuff we've been doing for the holidays and the travel and just work things. It's been a little bit hectic in our lives this month. So, yeah, I'll chat and I'll let you know for January what we've discussed. But yeah, anyways, let me know what your thoughts are on the list. It's not going to be exhaustive because I may pick up a couple here and there that are monthly or week-long ones as they seem fun and as they fit into my list. So if you know any of those month-long or week-long ones, let me know. Pop them in the chat, or not in the chat, in the comments. And then also, for the ones that I'm not already going through the journal with you guys. So all the Magical Readathon ones, HRCYED, Once Upon a Year, Romanceopoly, those ones, how do you want to see those how do you want to see those updated? Do you want just like where we are on all of our challenges outside of those ones once a quarter, or just as I finish them? Let's do a quick, hey, these are the ones I read. I finished out the year on them. Thoughts, let me know. What would be interesting to you? I think that's probably all I've got for right now. I do have one other challenge I didn't talk about, which is Joe's reading challenge in the top corner. And that's just because that is one that is like a private group, and I don't want to share necessarily her stuff on here without her permission. And I haven't asked about sharing that. So I'm just leaving that one alone. It is up there technically. There are 24. So I wanted to include it, but we're not going to get into that in my regular course of discussion. Anyways, thank you so much for sitting and listening and chatting, hopefully in the comments. I look forward to seeing all of y'all's adventures and suggestions as we go through this year. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!